Hello and welcome to a hints and tips video with Alan's Music Centre and Larry. My name is Tom and it's a great pleasure to have your company with us once again. And from all of us here at Alan's Music Centre, a very happy new year to you, and we wish you all the best for 2017, and we hope it's full of good memories and wonderful music making. Today, my hints and tips video is about creating organ sounds on the Lowrey. One of the most popular things we find with the statistics on our YouTube channel is that people still love organ sounds. It's wonderful with all the styles and technology and orchestral tones to play those instruments, but you just can't beat the sound of a Lowrey. Now, of course, we have the technology today that gives us the sound of theatre pipe organs, jazz organs, church pipe organs, you name it, we've practically got it in here. But of course, the Lowrey organ has its own unique, distinct organ tone. And that sounds a little something like this. It's the sound you get when you turn on a Lowrey. Sweet Lowrey organ sound. Now, when Lowrey organs were first devised, they had a series of control tabs, and we call these the flute tabs. Now, these are found on virtually every Lowrey, and it doesn't matter which model you've got. For example, a Horley Classic, a Lowrey Odyssey, a Marquis, a Prestige, or in this case the Lowrey Symphony. You'll have a row of tabs for the upper and some for the lower. And what you can do, you can pick and mix the numbers. We've got 16, 8, 4, 2, 1 and 3/5 on some models. And basically you just switch them on and the lights come on at the back or on the tab itself on some of the smaller organs, and whatever combination you pick, you'll get a nice sound. So here's just one I've just randomly done. You know, it's amazing. I have so many people who take up the organ a little later in life, and they maybe didn't have an organ with tabs on years ago, or pull-out drawbars, and they say, "Oh, I never go near those, I never touch them, because I don't know what they do." Well, basically, these tabs, which say flute on them, those are the organ tone of your Lowrey. They're the hands-on controls that allow you to create sounds. I'm going to hold a C chord, just a simple C chord. And you can hear the tone changes as you press them. You really can't get a bad sound out of them. And that's really encouraging to know that if you pick and mix those tabs, just that little section there, you'll get nice sounds. However, a lot of us, when we started playing the organ, we perhaps had an organ that had drawbars. Now, drawbars were horizontally mounted on the panel of the organ, and as having the same names, they would say 16, 8, 5 and a third, 4, but you could pull and push them in and out. And what that did, rather than just being on and off, as in the case of a tab, it allowed you to vary the volume of each one, so you could have one that was louder than the other, and you could make shapes. Now, the fantastic thing with Lowrey's is we have the tabs like on a traditional theatre pipe organ, or we can have the drawbars. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to zoom in onto the display screen. And what we're going to do, we're going to press our feature button. Now, this is really for folks who own a model with a touch screen. Now, that can be a Royale, it can be a Rhapsody, a Stardust, a Prestige, an Imperial, or some of our more recent models, such as the Marquis, and in this case, our lovely UK limited edition Lowrey Symphony. Now, what we do, we start by pressing the feature button, and that will bring up a menu that says levels, tuning and some other controls. Scroll to page 2 and you'll see upper pedal/lower drawbars. Now, the one we're going to use mostly today is the top one, upper drawbars. And as you can see on the screen, we've then got some pull-out levers. These are called drawbars. And what you do, you simply touch at the top of the screen to push it in, and as you bring your finger down beneath it, you can see you can pull it out. So to push it in, you don't slide it, you just push it like that. Now what this allows you to do is it allows you to make not just combinations, but you can vary the volume of each drawbar. To turn the drawbar off completely, you simply switch off the tab on the panel. Let's start with the 8-foot flute, and we're going to bring that out all the way to the bottom. So this is a very basic organ tone. Now a lot of people say, what does the number mean? 8 foot. Well, that pertains to the organ pipes in traditional pipe organs. This is where these numbers came from. It basically means that when you pull out an 8-foot stop on an organ, you drag the draw stop out, it brings in a set of organ pipes. The lowest pipe at the bottom of the keyboard, which is bottom C, is 8 feet long. And basically anything at 8 foot is what we call concert pitch. In other words, it plays the same key. So if you play middle C on here with an 8-foot drawbar, that's the same pitch as you'd hear on a piano, middle C. And that's the fundamental 8 foot. That's quite a nice sound. Now the next one is 4 foot. I'll turn the tab on and then I'll bring the 4 foot out a bit more. Now 4 is half of 8, so that means it plays 1 octave above. So when I play middle C, I'm actually hearing not 1 but 2 organ pipes or organ tones. I'm hearing the one that I'm playing, but I'm also getting the sound of the one above, so this will make a slightly brighter sound. Now you can probably guess what happens when you pull the 2 foot out. Yes, that plays an octave above 4, but it's 2 octaves above 8, so we're going to get a brighter sound now. Let's bring out the 1 foot. That's 1 octave above the 4. 2 is 2 octaves above, and the 1 is 3 octaves above. So when you play one note, you're actually getting 4 tones. So you can see when you play chords, you're actually getting quite a lot of sounds. And it doesn't really take much of a mathematician to work out what happens when we go to the 16. Well, if the numbers going smaller are octaves above, the 16 is an octave below the 8 foot. So we're actually now going to get a really big, this is quite a bright sound. I've got 16, 8, 4, 2 and 1. I'm going to set them kind of even, and so we should get a full blended organ sound. Now what would happen if I turned off on the panel the 4 and the 2 stops? I'm going to turn these off, one there and one there. Now you can see that it's just like pushing the drawbars in. So now we're left with 16, 8 and 1. Now the 16 and the 8 are quite mellow. The 1 is very bright. This creates a hollow. Tone from the organ. Now what would happen if I use the 4 and the 2 and the 1? But what I can do this time, I can bring the 16 out and I can sort of shape the drawbars so they go in. So we've almost got like a sort of a grading triangle sort of shape. We're going from a loud 16 through the 8, 4, and the 1 is just touching out, poking his head out at the top. That creates this sound. That's a really nice sound. Next to the tabs is upper flute sustain. Now that was quite a full mellow sound. Listen to now when we put the sustain on. Because don't forget, when you add sustain, you're creating a new sound. So without sustain, and then we get the same setting, but we get a different sound from just adding sustain. Now let's really thicken it and let's add AOC. Play an octave higher though with AOC. Lovely sound. 16, 8, 4, 2 and 1, but we've used the drawbars to change the volume, and so we've got this kind of going up shape. Now you could make a bow. What about a sort of an arch? Let's bring the 2 out and then bring the 1 out, just like that, touching at the bottom. So we've now kind of got a sort of a bow shape. So this should be quite deep and high, but then there's a little bit of a middle sound going on. So there you go, that's just using the numbers that have just got their number there, 16, 8, 4 and 2 and 1. Don't forget, if you want to turn the drawbar off completely, you can't push it all the way to the top, you have to use the tabs to turn them off. Now a lot of people ask me, well, okay, I kind of get what you're doing with the numbers 16, 8, 4 and 2, I understand that, but what about these ones that have fractions on them, 5 1/3, 2 2/3? Well, you have to understand how basic organs work. Basically, if you have a set of organ pipes at 8 feet and you play the keys on the keyboard, you're playing the same pitches that you'd get on a piano. Middle C is the same pitch as on a piano. Now, sometimes to give more colour to sound, you have to use things known as harmonics. 16, 8, 4 and 2, they're known as fundamentals. And fundamental tones, basically what that means is if you play an F, the 8 foot, the 4 foot and the 2 foot, they're all playing Fs. If you play A, they're all playing A. But what the 5 1/3, 2 and 2/3 do, they play a different key to the one you're playing. So if you play a C, one of them will play an E or a G. In other words, they harmonise with the key that you're playing. It's like a very primitive form of AOC that we enjoy on the organs. Listen to what happens if I bring out an 8-foot flute. Here's the 8 foot, so we're going to hear the notes on the keyboard, C, D, E, F, G, middle C. Now if you played those same keys on a piano, they'd be the same pitch. But watch what happens when I bring out, I'm going to hold a key down, listen to what happens when I bring out the 5 1/3. You'll hear this really cool colouring happen to the sound. Now that sounds real different, doesn't it? Let's bring out the 2 2/3. Then we've got the higher ones, 1 3/5 and 1 1/3. Now those create a really different sound. And you can probably see that they're actually coloured differently on the drawbar. These are darker in colour and the fundamentals are a kind of a clear. And so what happens is you can colour the basic drawbar, so 16, 8, 4 and 2, but then add the 2 2/3 and it does this. Or the 1 1/3 at the top. Here's that sound without, and here it is with. You can hear there's a lot of colour just suddenly added to the sound. Now each drawbar has 10 volume positions. You have off and then 1 through 10. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 drawbars. So what you've got there is quite a lot of combinations. In fact, it goes into the hundreds of millions. So grab a pen and paper, here's number 1. But as you can see, it doesn't matter what you actually do. You can just randomly plonk away at some, you know, like that. And there's a shape. And listen to the sound. Turn some of the drawbars off and just have a couple out. Let's have, here's a popular combination. Here's what we call the bottom 3. 16, 8, 5 1/3. A lot of jazz musicians use this. 16 and 4 is a lovely mellow tone. In fact, that's the power on Lowrey organ sound. You get that every time you switch on your Lowrey. 8, 2 2/3 and 2 foot. Have a listen to this. If you bring the drawbars out like this, 5 going up to 1, you get a sort of a shimmering kind of sound. And so you can see it's a lot of fun, isn't it? Actually hands-on creating those organ sounds. Now what's really nice is to get you started, we actually have a whole range of organ registrations built into our Lowrey. If we turn on Bank A, these are called the factory presets, Bank A, you will see when you bring the screen up a whole set of popular Lowrey organ combinations. And what these are doing, these are mixing the stops and the drawbars for you. But if you want to see what the drawbars are doing, go to Feature and press Upper Drawbars, and then as you change the registration preset, look what happens on the screen. That's going on behind the scenes. And you can see there that the drawbars are being mixed, but the volumes are also being changed. And that's really cool. Look at that, all those different there. And you can change them. You don't have to keep them as they are. You can muck around, and the originals are still there. One last little tip just before we finish up. On the left side of the organ is the Vibratrem, and that's kind of another name for Leslie. Leslie were the big speakers we used to have on organs years ago that created those lovely sounds. Press the slow button on upper, and the Leslie slows down. That's the same registration, but it now sounds different. Turn off the slow button, and you don't have any Leslie. Put the fast on, and the Leslie goes faster, or Vibratrem as we call it on a Lowrey. And that gives you a Leslie style effect, and that's digitally recorded into the organ. You've also got different organ flute types in the bigger Lowreys. On this Symphony we've got no less than 6 different flute types. We've got tibia, string, smooth, jazz, and again each one brings a different set of organ tones in for you to enjoy. And that's really all there is to it. It's just about diving in and getting those drawbars on the screen and having fun mixing combinations. Now there's so many you could find, but I'm sure you'll have a lot of fun exploring them, and it's just another way of mixing the tabs, but you've got a control of the volume of each of the tabs on the panel. Now you can try this on your organ at home, but if you've got any questions about anything that we've just covered, please do send us an email via the website allensmusiccentre.co.uk. Allens is A-L-L-E-N-S, and we'll be happy to answer any questions on that you might have. But it's nice just occasionally to go back to the traditional side of a Lowrey and a traditional side of an organ and just enjoy some of those sounds. And maybe for some of you who have never even tried those tabs and those drawbars and thought, oh, I'm not going to press them because I don't know what I'm doing, as you can see, you really can't go wrong. You can have some great sounds just by having fun exploring that on the screen. So thanks for watching, and we hope to keep in touch with you very soon with another hints and tips video on our YouTube channel. In the meantime, thanks for watching and enjoy your music.